Yo, what is up guys? ElbowSkinn here. Welcome back to a new series where I am going to be building budget EDH decks for you guys. For those of you who don't know, EDH is a format in Magic the Gathering. It's a nice casual format for multiplayer. It's not very competitive. And so I'm building budget EDH decks. All of these decks have been built for under $100. And yeah, let's get into it. So the first commander we're going to be building today is Scion of the Ur-Dragon. Scion of the Ur-Dragon is a 5-color commander, so he has all colors. You can use any card in Magic the Gathering that's not on the ban list. He is a 4/4 dragon avatar with flying, and for 2 mana, you can search your library for a dragon permanent card and put it into your grave, and if you do, Scion of the Ur-Dragon becomes a copy of that card until end of turn. Now this has a few different implications. First things first. Regardless of whether or not Scion of the Ur-Dragon is itself or a different card, it is still your commander, therefore it does commander damage. So, you can make it something really beefy, make it somehow 21/21 or something like that with some cards that I'm going to show you, and one-shot people. And that's great. Another thing you can do is you can stack its abilities via the stack to funnel a bunch of dragon cards into your grave, and I will show you some of the implications of that in a second. So we are going to start out really quick with some of the enchantments of this deck. So our first enchantment is Dragon Tempest. Dragon Tempest is a 2-mana enchantment, 1 in red. Whenever a creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, it gains haste until end of turn, which is really good because that means as soon as you get these big boys out, they're going to be able to swing. And whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. Now this can get out of hand really quickly, and I'll show you in a second. Next, we are running Palace Siege. It is an enchantment for 3 and 2 black. As Palace Siege enters the battlefield, you choose Khans or dragons. If you choose Khans, at the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your grave to hand. This is probably going to be the one you want to choose in this deck, because it allows you to funnel these cards into grave through Scion's ability and then just immediately get them into your hand and play them. So it's really a nice toolkit there. However, if you are behind or if you just want to drain your opponents, you could choose dragons. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So that is also a very useful thing for 5 mana. Next, we're going to go with Curse of Verbosity. One of the tough parts about this deck is its draw power. Curse of Verbosity helps you because it allows you to take out a player, and so what it does is it is a 2 in blue enchantment. It is an aura curse. Whenever enchanted player is attacked, draw a card. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. So you're just going to get to draw that card. You're going to get to draw a lot of cards, especially if you get to put it on someone who's ahead and everyone's going to be attacking anyway, and that will allow you to draw a lot of cards and get some of the things that you need. Next is Kindred Discovery. It is a enchantment for 3 and 2 blue. Another thing here, as Kindred Discovery enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, you draw a card. And that's also a very big thing, because you're going to choose dragons. You're running pretty much all dragons. There's only a couple creature cards that are not dragons, and those creature cards you're probably not going to attack with. So if you do that, you're going to get a lot of card draw. Next up, we have Temur Ascendancy. It is a green, a blue, and red enchantment. Creatures you control have haste. That is huge. So much about this card is just being able to get out a big dragon, a big flyer, attack someone that doesn't have flying, and just end them. And that's huge. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. So yeah, that's another big thing, is being able to draw cards off that. Next, we have Crucible of Fire. Dragon creatures you control get +3/+3. And last but not least, nope, we still have a couple more. Last but not least, we have Curse of Bounty. Whenever it is a 1 in green enchantment. Whenever enchanted player is attacked, untap all non-land permanents you control. So this is good if you want to swing everything at somebody and then still have your blockers up, because very few of these dragons actually have vigilance. I think only one of them does. And so you want to be able to keep blockers up. And these dragons are fatties. They're going to be able to block very well. So that takes care of the enchantment portion. Next, we're going to go into all the creatures. Most of these things are indeed dragons. So a lot of these creatures are going to be good in their own way. And just remember, you can make Scion of the Dragon any one of these creatures at any time. And that's huge. So we're going to start off with the big one, the Dragon. Dragon is a dragon that is for 4 and then 1 of every color. So it's a 9 mana dragon. So it's expensive on its own, but as long as he's in the command zone, which he will never be, or on the battlefield, other dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And that 1 can be huge, because early going, you're not going to be able to cast more than 1 dragon per turn usually, but if you can, that's huge. In addition, it is a 10/10 with flying, so it's huge. It can block pretty much anything in the game. And whenever 1 or more dragons you control attacks, draw that many cards and you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So that's a really nice card to have. It's really nice utility. It allows you to just kind of flood the board. Territorial Hellkite is up next. It is 2 and 2 red. It is a 6/5 dragon with flying and haste. However, there's a caveat that at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose an opponent at random that Territorial Hellkite did not attack during your last combat, and Territorial Hellkite attacks that player this combat if able. If you cannot choose an opponent this way, tap Territorial Hellkite. So that is tough because you're not going to really be able to control who you attack with it, but other than that, it's still a very good card. It's still a good value card in terms of it being a 6/5 dragon. Next, we have Silumgar the Drifting Death. Silumgar the Drifting Death is a 4 blue and white. It is a 3/7 with flying and hexproof. And whenever a dragon you control attacks, creatures defending player controls get -1/-1 until end of turn. Now, key point here, it's whenever a dragon you control attacks. This ability is stackable. So when you attack with 4 dragons, anything that is 4/4 or below, assuming you swing at the same person, just instantly dies. That is a pretty good card there, especially if you just want to make Scion that and swing with a bunch of dragon tokens. That's pretty nice. Next, we have Steel Hellkite. It is an artifact creature dragon for 6. It is a 5/5 with flying. You can pay 2 mana to give it +1/+0 until end of turn, or you can pay X to destroy all non-land permanents with converted mana cost X whose controller was dealt combat damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. You can only activate this ability once each turn. So if you're able to swing and get it on somebody with Steel Hellkite, you can hurt their board considerably, and that's really nice. Next is another big one, Uvara Hellkite. It is a 6/6 dragon for 6 and 2 red. I see you kind of getting the theme here. We're running dragons. It is a 6/6 flyer, and whenever a dragon you control attacks, create a 6/6 red dragon token with flying. Again, whenever a dragon you control attacks, if you swing with 3 dragons, you get 3 tokens. And that's big, especially with enchantments like Dragon Tempest, which is dealing damage all the time to that. That is huge. Next, we have our first non-dragon. It is Taigam Ojutai Master. It is a 3/4 for 2 white and blue. It is a legendary creature, human monk. Instant sorcery and dragon spells you control cannot be countered by spells or abilities. So that's a really nice card. That pretty much protects you from getting counterspelled, which is a pretty abundant thing in Commander, and something you really need to watch out for. In addition, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, if Taigam Ojutai Master attacked this turn, which albeit is going to be tough, but it doesn't really matter, that spell gains rebound. And there's quite a few, not too many instants and sorceries, but there's a few instants and sorceries where if you can actually do that, especially if you can get them out early in the game to attack people that maybe don't have a board state yet, you can get some really good use out of that. Next, we have Okagachi, the Vengeful Kami. It is a 6/6 dragon spirit for 1 and 1 of every color, with flying and trample. Whenever Okagachi Vengeful Kami deals combat damage to a player, if that player attacked you during his or her last turn, exile target non-land permanent that player controls. Basically, if you can get Okagachi out it pretty much scares people from attacking you. So, or if you can get in on it as Scion of the Ur-Dragon, you can just say, I don't like that thing. You attacked me last turn. I'm going to make Scion this and just take away one of your good cards. Next up is a big one. We have Savage Ventmaw. It is a 4/4 flyer for 4 red and green. However, when Savage Ventmaw attacks, you add 3 red and 3 green to your mana pool. You can do a lot with that. That is going to be able to cast the majority of your dragons, especially if you have a couple mana left over. That's going to be able to cast a lot of things. Next, we have Kolaghan the Storm's Fury. It is a 4/5 with 3 black and red. It is a 4/5 with flying, and whenever a dragon you control attacks, again, whenever a dragon you control attacks, so this is also a good card for stacking dragon attacks, all creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. In addition, this card also has dash, so you can pay its mana cost, put it on the battlefield, and give it haste and bounce it back to your hand. So this is a very nice card to get in, swing a bunch, get a big buff, and then get it back into your hand without worrying about it dying. Alright, next up we have Ryusei the Falling Star. This is a big card. It is a 5 and red. It is a 5/5 flyer. Whenever it dies, it deals 5 damage to each creature without flying. Now remember, the only flying creature we have not, the only creature without flying in this deck so far has been Taigan. So there's a lot of damage this could do to all the other players, but very little that it can do to you. It's really a nice card. Next up is also a very nice card to protect yourself. It is Scalelord Reckoner. It is a 4/4 dragon with flying for 3 and 2 white. Whenever a dragon I control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you can destroy target non-land permanent that player controls. So that really tells the other players, you can hurt me. It's going to cost you, though. You can hurt me. It's going to cost you, though. Next up is Hellkite Charger. It is a 5/5 flying with haste for 4 and 2 red. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 5 and 2 red, and if you do, untap all attacking creatures, and there is an additional combat phase. If you have enough mana where you can kill someone in 2 attacks, especially with some of the other cards in this deck, you can really, really, really one-shot people. Next up is probably one of the most broken and amazing cards in this deck, and I love it a lot. It is Scourge of Valkis. It is a 4/4 dragon with flying for 2 and 3 red. Whenever Scourge of Valkis or another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. You can also pay 1 red to give it +1/+0 until end of turn. With all these tokens that are coming onto the field, from Uvara Hellkite or you just throwing down dragons, this thing does a lot of damage really fast, especially if you can get a good board state up. It is really nice and really good. Next up, we have Teneb the Harvester. It is a 6/6 flyer for 3 and black-green-white. Whenever it deals damage to a player, you can pay 2 and black. If you do, put target creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It's usually going to be a dragon unless your opponent has something really, really OP in their grave that you want. This will also add up quickly, especially if someone's not running flying. You can just attack them over and over and just flood your board with cards that you've put into your grave through Scion of the Ur-Dragon, and that's really nice to have. Next up, we have Croesus the Purger, a very similar card. 6/6 for 3 blue, black, red. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can pay 2 in black, and if you do, choose a color. That player reveals his or her hand and discards all cards of that color. Especially if someone's running a monocolored deck, this will really hurt them. They'll have to discard everything except for pretty much artifacts and lands, and so that's really nice. Next up, you have Ojutai, Soul of Winter. This is also a very good card. It is a 5/6 with flying and vigilance for 5 white and blue. This is all good value here because these cards have flying, and that really makes a difference. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, remember a dragon, tap target non-land permanent an opponent controls. That permanent does not untap during its controller's untap step. This will lock down a lot of threats. If you can just keep swinging with dragons and keep Ojutai alive, you're going to be able to lock down an opponent's board, essentially, and just murder them and then just move on to the next one. It's a very nice card. Another nice card is Wasitora Nekoru Queen, a 5/4 with flying and trample for 2 black, red, green. 2 black, red, green. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player sacrifices a creature. If that player cannot, you create a 3/3 black, red, and green cat dragon token with flying. Basically, you do this if a player has one really strong creature or no creatures at all, because that cat dragon token will proc a lot of things. It'll proc your Dragon Tempest, it'll proc your Scourge of Valkis, it'll proc a lot of things. It'll proc anything that it says whenever a dragon you control attacks. It's really nice. Next up, you have Dromoka the Eternal. It is a 5/5 with flying for 3 green white. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, bolster 2. So you choose the creature with the least toughness among creatures you control and put 2 +1/+1 counters on. Again, with tokens, if you're swinging with 5 dragons, you are putting 10 +1/+1 counters on something. That is a lot. That is a lot of +1/+1 counters. It's crazy. Especially if you can get them all on Scion or something, you can rack up the commander damage in a big way. Next up, we have Bladewing the Risen. It is a 4/4 zombie dragon for 3, 2 black, and 2 red. It has flying. When Bladewing the Risen enters the battlefield, you can return target dragon permanent card from your grave to the battlefield. So, you tutor Ur Dragon into the grave, you put Bladewing the Risen on the field, you just got 2 ridiculously strong dragons for 7 mana. In addition, it also has the ability that you can pay a black and a red. All dragon creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. That's a nice card to have. Next up is also a really nice card, Ramos Dragon Engine. It is a 4/4 artifact creature dragon with flying for 6. Whenever you cast a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Ramos Dragon Engine for each of that spell's colors. If you guys have been paying attention, you'll notice that most of these dragons have at least 2 colors, if not 3 or more. So that will make Ramos very strong very quickly. Like, here's the other thing. You can remove 5 +1/+1 counters from Ramos Dragon Engine and add 2 of each color, so 10 mana to your mana pool. That's a lot of mana. That's crazy. You can only activate the ability once each turn, but that's okay. Next up is a nice toolbox dragon here for you. Toolbox meaning you make Scion the Ur Dragon this card in a sticky situation. It is Quicksilver Dragon. It is a 5/5 dragon with flying for 4 and 2 blue. If you can pay 1 blue, and if target spell has only 1 target, and that target is Quicksilver Dragon, change that spell's target to another creature. It also has a morph ability, which allows you to morph it and play it face down. But really what you want to do is, you want to put that out there when someone tries to target removal Scion of the Ur Dragon. So what you either will do is you want to put in one of your hexproof dragons, or you want to put in Quicksilver Dragon and say, yeah, that target removal is coming at you now, buddy. Next, we have another very good card for this. It is Atarka World Render. It is a 6/4 dragon for 5 red and green with flying and trample, and whenever a dragon you control attacks, it gains double strike until end of turn. So every single one of your dragons has double strike now. That is ridiculous. That's a lot of damage that it does. It's crazy. That's crazy good. Next, we have Deathbringer Regent. Deathbringer Regent is a 5/6 dragon for 5 and 2 black. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand and there are 5 or more other creatures on the battlefield, destroy all other creatures. It is a bomb, but this is what you want to do when you want to keep this in your hand and use it when you're going to lose. This is a nice card to just reset the game, get some mana, maybe play another dragon to end your turn, and then just try and come back off of that. Last but not least, we have 2 other non-dragons that really help in other ways. Dragon Speaker Shaman. It is a 2/2 human barbarian shaman for 1 and 2 red. Dragon spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. That's a lot. That'll do a lot for you. And last but not least, we have Dragon Lord Servant along the same lines. It is a 1/3 goblin shaman for 1 in red. Dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So this reduces what you have to sacrifice in terms of lands in order to play. And that is it on the creature side of things. So there's a lot of real good creatures. And as you can see, Scion of the Erd Dragon can become any of these. So it's a really nice toolbox to have. We are also running one Planeswalker in this deck. It is a fairly cheap Planeswalker, but it's good enough that we want to run it. So, it is Samut the Tested. It has 4 loyalty for 2, a red and a green. You can tick it up 1 to give a target creature double strike until end of turn. This is really good if you don't want to necessarily tutor in Atarka and put it in grave if you don't have any grave recursion. This is another way to give something very powerful and make it hit very hard. You can tick it down 2 to have it deal 2 damage divided as you choose among 2 target creatures and or players. This is also a nice thing to have if you're going to stack it with Scourge of Valkus damage, Dragon Tempest damage, to get a threat out of the game, maybe a player, maybe a enchantment. And then its ultimate is you can search your library for up to 2 creature cards or planeswalkers. We don't have any other planeswalkers, so we don't want to do that. Put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So this is just a nice thing to have if you can get it to ultimate. I know planeswalkers aren't the best, in my opinion, in EDH, because people just see planeswalker and they say, we're going to kill this thing. But it's a nice planeswalker to have. It's a nice budget planeswalker to have for our decks, so we're going to run it. Next, we're going to move on to instants and sorceries. We're going to start with instants. We have Brainstorm. This is a very nice card that allows you to plan out your turns. It is for 1 mana, 1 blue. You can draw 3 cards and then take 2 cards from your hand and put them on top of your library in any order. So this allows you to kind of look through your deck and then try and top deck something that you need. Maybe you need a land drop, maybe you need a sorcery, maybe like an artifact, and allows you to kind of plan out the rest of your turns. And that's a really nice card to have. In addition, we have Negate. It is 1 in blue to counter target non-creature spell. This is nice for when someone tries to zap something. This is nice for when someone just tries to board wipe you. This is a nice thing to keep in your back pocket. In addition, we have Naturalize. This is a nice value card for 1 in green to destroy target artifact or enchantment. The key here that we're doing with these instants is we want them to be cheap because we are going to be expending a lot of mana to play dragons, and so we won't have a whole lot of mana to use on other people's turns. But that's okay. We're okay with that. Next, we're moving on. Those are the only 3 instants in the deck, so you need to use them wisely. This deck doesn't do a whole lot. This deck has very little interaction on other people's turns, but when it's your turn, everybody just watches and all. And that's the goal. Next, we have some ramp spells. We have Farseek. For 1 in green, you can search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain card and put it onto the battlefield tapped. This is really good early game if you need to tutor in something. Not tutor in something. If you need to mana fix, if you're missing like a swamp or a mountain to get in Scion of the Erd Dragon. We also have Kodama's Reach. It is for 2 in green. You can search your library for 2 basic land cards, reveal them, and put 1 into your hand and 1 onto the battlefield tap. This is nice if you don't have land in your hand and you don't want to miss the land drop. Next, we have some very, very nice black spells. We have Midnight Recovery. This is a card that I didn't originally have in this deck, but I packed it while opening a pack, and I thought this has a really cool interaction. So Midnight Recovery is a sorcery for 3 in black. It allows you to return target creature card from grave to hand, and it has Cipher. So basically what it means is you attach it, in a sense, to a creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, you can then copy that spell again. So if you put it on something that you know is going to get through for damage, maybe something really strong like Erd Dragon or maybe something really weak that's not going to get blocked while Erd Dragon's getting blocked, or something with trample like Okagachi or something like that, you can get a lot of cards that way. Next up, we have Crux of Fate. This is a huge card. This is a game-ending card for 5 mana. It is a 3 and 2 black sorcery. You choose 1. You destroy all dragon creatures. I don't think we're going to do that. I think we're going to pick the other one. Destroy all non-dragon creatures. You are board wiping, assuming no one else is running dragons. You're going to board wipe the entire table and then just get in for damage. That is a ridiculously good card. It's going to get countered a lot, but you never know. Painful Truths is a nice draw power spell. It is worth 2 in black. You draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast Painful Truth. And with the amount of lands that you have, the amount of dual lands and even triple lands in this deck, there's going to be a lot. You're pretty much going to be drawing 3 cards off that every single time. Next up, we have Reign of Thorns. It is a 6 mana spell for 4 and 2 green. You can choose 1 or more to destroy target artifact, target enchantment, and target land. So it basically allows you to attack one or maybe multiple players if one of them has a really OP enchantment and the other one has a really OP artifact, or maybe a Urborg is in there or something like that. It's really nice to have. Next up is another mana ramp spell. It is Cultivate. It is a 2 in green. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards and put 1 onto the battlefield tapped and other into your hand. So it is literally, I believe, the same thing as Kodama's Reach. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards. Reveal those cards. Yep, it is the exact same thing as Kodama's Reach, but with a different name, so we can do it. Alright, Fractured Identity is a card for 3 white and blue. Exile target non-land permanent. Each player other than its controller creates a token that's a copy of it. So you can destroy any other card, like anything that's OP, and get a copy of it for everybody. Or one thing I found that was actually a very interesting thing is you can destroy your own Ryusei the Falling Star, thus board wiping most of the table. Everyone else gets a Ryusei the Falling Star that when it dies, because they're probably going to block with it, it's going to board wipe the table again. So that's a real unique combo that I've noticed in this deck, and it's really nice. Next up, we have another ramp spell. It is Rampant Growth. It is 1 in green. Search your library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle your library. Next, we have a very nice card. It is Unburial Rites. It is for 4 in black. You can return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is real value. You put Dragon into your grave, tutor it on the battlefield for 5. It also has Flashback for 3 and white, which allows you to cast it again. Next up, we have Fortunate Few. This is a card for 3 and 2 white. Choose a non-land permanent you don't control, and each other player chooses a non-land permanent he or she does not control, and destroy all other non-land permanents. So this, again, is a last-ditch effort. You're going to lose the game, so you need to board wipe something. So this is a good way. Maybe people will choose your cat dragons or something. This is a great way to get ahead in the game if you're about to lose. Next, we have Earthquake. It is a red and X. It deals X damage to each creature without flying and each player. This is a nice board wipe spell. If someone's sitting on 5, you drop it for 5 and their game. And last but not least is the greatest card I've ever seen for this deck, Primeval's Glorious Rebirth. This card returns all legendary permanents from your grave to the battlefield. What this card does is essentially, let's say, if you're pretty confident no one's holding a counterspell or no one has the mana to use it, you wait for end phase of other person's turn. You say, okay, I'm going to stack Scion of the Ur-Dragon's ability 4 times. I'm going to put Ur-Dragon, Okagachi, you get the picture, into my grave. Then, untap, upkeep, draw, do whatever, play a land. I'm going to drop Primeval's Glorious Rebirth, flood the battlefield with huge dragons, win the game. That's an obscene combo, and I love it so much, and I'm so glad that it's part of this deck. It's a really nice card. Last but not least, we're going with the artifacts. Actually, we also have to do the lands, but that should be quick. First up, we have Soul Ring, pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty cookie-cutter in all these EDH decks. It is for 1 mana, add 2 colorless to your mana pool, and you tap it to do that. Commander Sphere is a 3 mana artifact. Again, pretty standard. You tap it to add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color in your commander's identity, which is any color. So that's a very nice mana fixing card. Mana fixing is a huge problem in this deck. You need to have every color up at all times. You can also sack it to draw a card if things are going to get destroyed or something. It's a nice thing to have. Nice little cop-out to get yourself some value. Here's a very nice card, Thran Temporal Gateway. It is a 4-mana artifact. You can pay 4 mana and tap it to put a historic permanent from your land onto the battlefield. This is almost always going to be used for legendary creatures. There's very few artifacts that you'll get value out of this on. In fact, I think there's only one. No, there's 2. There's 2 artifacts where you would get value on that. So basically, you're going to use it for dragons. An Dragon for 4 mana, like, come on, that's pretty nice. We have Herald's Horn. Herald's Horn is a 3-mana artifact. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. You're going to choose dragons. Creature spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. So that's another mana cheapening spell to make things a little bit lighter for you on the load. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it is a creature card of the chosen type, you can reveal it and put it to your hand. And with all the dragons you're running, more than often, you'll find that that's going to be the case. And that'll allow you to draw that card and then hit your land drop on the second draw off your top deck. And that'll help you kind of run through your deck a little more smoothly. Next up is a card I absolutely love. It is a really fun card. It is Gate to the Aether. It is a 6-mana artifact. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player reveals the top card of his or her library. If it is an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land card, that player may put it into play. This is going to... Remember, we're running a lot more OP creatures than anybody else. So this is giving us the most value. In addition, if people are running some combo decks, this can break up their combo. Because if they top deck something that they don't want to play, then they're not getting any value out of it. Next up, we have Blackblade Reforged. It is a 2-mana equipment. You can equip it to a legendary creature for 3 or a regular creature for 7. And that creature gets +1/+1 for every land you control. If you put that on Scion of the Dragon, get an Atarka in there or something, you'll be able to command or damage people fairly easily. And that's really nice. Next up, another pretty big, like a staple, I would say, in most commander decks is Lightning Greaves. It is a 2-mana equipment spell with equip cost of 0. Equip creature has haste and shroud. Since you're only playing 1 dragon per turn, giving that 1 dragon haste, unless you have Temur Ascendancy or something in there, is going to be really nice for you. Next, a really big mana spell, Dreamstone Hedron. It is a 6-mana artifact spell. You can tap it to add 3 to your mana pool, or you can tap 3 mana and sack it to draw 3 cards. So that's a lot of cards. Next up, Pillar of Origins. As a 2-mana artifact, this is a really nice card. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Once again, choosing dragons. You tap it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, and you can spend this mana only to cast a dragon, essentially. And so that's a really nice card for mana fixing again. We're all about the mana fixing here. This is also a really crazy card. I can't even believe this. Mirror of the Forebears. It is a 2-mana artifact. As it enters the battlefield, choose creature type. Choosing dragon, obviously. Spend 1 mana. Until end of turn, Mirror of the Forebears is a copy of target creature you control of the chosen type, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Get a Savage Ventmaw, have 12 mana. Scourge of Valkis right before you're about to play a lot of dragons. Double up on the damage. That's a lot of things you can do. That's like an extra toolbox there. This is a nice toolbox commander, but that's crazy. Next up, we have Darksteel Ingot. It's a 3-mana indestructible artifact. Tap it to add 1 mana of any color. That's a pretty big staple, and it allows you to mana fix. And last but not least, we have a Nihil Spellbomb. This is nice to get rid of people's Grave Recursion. It is a 1-mana artifact. Sack it to exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Yeah, we already said that. That is a nice card to just stop people in their tracks. And when it is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you can pay a black, and if you do, draw a card. So you get really good value out of it for 1, I guess 2 mana if you spend it. Last but not least, we are running a heck of a lot of lands here, because you need to be able to hit lands in a consistent way. If you miss lands, you're going to be in trouble. So we're running a lot of basic lands. I think we're running, let's see here. Let's see our basic land ratio really quick. We are running, I believe, 2 of each, but I could be wrong. I should have just printed out the deck list and had it in front of me. You know? Okay, we have 3 of those. Oh, it might be 3 of each. In fact, I think it is 3 of each land. Nope, it's... Okay. Oh, that's right, that's right. I remember I did that. Alright, so you're running 3 each of each basic land. So 3 forest, plains, swamps, and islands, and 6 mountains. So that's all your basic lands. Those are where you're going to tutor out with Farseek or... Farseek. Next up, we are running a heck of a lot of triple lands. These lands enter tapped, but they tap for 1 of 3 colors. That is Sandstep Citadel, Savage Lands, Mystic Monastery, Arcane Sanctum, Nomad Outpost, Seaside Citadel, Frontier Bivouac, Crumbling Necropolis, Opulent Palace, Jungle Shrine. Those are all of those. So those really help with mana fixing because they tap for most of the colors, and if you have a couple of them, you can pretty much use whatever color you need in that situation until you get all your basic lands that you need. We are also running all the Vivid lands. Vivid Crag, Vivid Meadow, Vivid Creek, and Vivid Marsh. These are also good for mana fixing in a pinch. They enter tapped, tap for 1 of any color, and you remove a charge counter from it, and add 1 mana of any color. They tap for their colors. They tap for blue, red, green, or black. And they have twice per game you can tap it for 1 of any color. So that's a really nice thing as well. We're running Exotic Orchard, Command Tower, Exotic Orchard and Command Tower, and that is 2 mana fix, because those are pretty much Ceteris Paribus going to be able to tap for 1 of every color. And the last but not least, we have 3 interesting lands. So we have Path of Ancestry. It enters tapped. You can add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity, so 1 of any color. When that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, you may scry 1. So, or you have to scry 1. I don't know why you wouldn't scry 1 though. So whenever you cast a dragon spell using the mana from Path of Ancestry, you get to scry 1. That's pretty nice. Next, we have Haven of the Spirit Dragon. You get to tap it to add a colorless to your mana pool, or you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool if you're using it to cast a dragon creature spell. Again, that's a really nice mana fixing. There's lots of mechanisms built into this deck to make sure that you have the mana to do what you want to do. In addition, you can pay 2 and tap it to sacrifice it and return target dragon creature card or Ugin Planeswalker. We're not rich. We're not running Ugin Planeswalkers in this deck. From grave to hand. Last but not least, we have Crucible of the Spirit Dragon. You tap it to add a colorless to your mana pool. You pay 1 mana and tap it to put a storage counter on it. And then at the end, you can tap it to remove all storage counters, or no, remove X. You don't have to remove all of them. Remove X storage counters. Add X mana and any combination of colors to your mana pool. You can spend this mana only to cast dragon spells or activate the abilities of dragons. So that's a nice land there. If you don't have a whole lot you can do, you have an extra mana floating, just put a storage counter on it and put a big boom down. So that is the dragon deck. This dragon deck, basically what I did here was I bought the dragon precon, or what I should say, it was a gift given to me, and then I just upgraded a few of the worst cards and made it kind of more of a go wide deck, I guess, or go tall also. Basically, a real nice win con that I like to have here is Scourge of Valkis. It's just a real nice thing to have. Scourge of Valkis, Dragon Tempest allows you to burn opponents real quickly, but you can really use anything. Things you could do to upgrade this card, there's a lot of ETB triggers, so you maybe want to add a Panharmonicon. You can add Rite of Replication to get a bunch of Scourge of Valkuses and just really end the game. You can make the lands a little better because the lands are slow and it makes you slow. You can also invest in some better tier A dragons like Banefire Dragon or Skitherix. But overall, in keeping this budget deck, it is a nice competitive deck, but it is very casual. In this series, I'm going to go with no infinite combos because I hate them. And this is all about casual and having fun. There's nothing more frustrating than just having your friend go infinite on you. So yeah, this deck's going to run about 70 to 80 bucks. If you guys, I'm going to put this on Tapped Out, along with this video in the link, in the description. Yeah, so if you guys have any ideas for what you want to see me build next, or if you guys have a deck that you would like me to showcase, I will be happy to do that. Just send me a link in the comments, or send me a link on DM me on Twitter or something, and I will be happy to accommodate you to make this video work. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe for more content. I'll put Twitter links in the description. Don't forget to love God, love each other, and I'll see you guys on the plains.